Yo, what's up YouTube? Welcome back to Tay TV. In my video from today, I'm reacting to another testimony from Leticia. This one
I married
is
a man.
basically says she almost married a man from another country and almost cost her life. Let's get into this.
That God never told me to marry, and it caused me severe depression, severe anxiety, severe sadness,
It caused her
hopelessness,
severe
all because
anxiety,
I
depression,
chose someone
hopelessness.
instead of letting God choose for me.
I wake up every day as flesh and bones, humble, alone, weak on my own. Lord, you left me bare and natural.
Here we go.
That marriage landed me in a position where I just didn't know who I was. Once I left the marriage, I still didn't know who I was.
She didn't know who she was.
I was in such turmoil behind that union that it took me so long to even be able to smile again and genuinely laugh. But even in that, I was still broken. I still wasn't whole. I still was left with this heartache of this disastrous decision that I made. It wasn't a heartache like, oh, I wish my marriage would have worked. It was a heartache like, how could I be so blind?
How could she be so
to
blind?
marry such an abusive man, such a terrible man, such a horrible person? But I did. I ended up in a situation where I was being sweet talked, and I went against my gut, thinking that this man is different than anyone that I've ever been with. He's not from here. He's foreign. He's someone that feels
she went against her gut, like she said. She should have listened to her gut.
And so in my mind, I was thinking, well, maybe this is for me, okay? Because clearly everything I've been doing up to now has not worked. So maybe this man is for me. We dated initially, didn't work out because we were on two different paths spiritually. I was trying to live for the Lord, right? And he just wasn't there. He was like, that's not my path.
For God.
And I'm like, okay,
that wasn't him.
Well, let's part ways. And that's exactly what happened. Wasn't anything bad about the breakup. We just determined that we're in two different places in life and we were not going to be a good fit. So fast forward maybe a couple years or so later, he comes back around. We run into each other. Coincidence, right? But not a coincidence, right? Because the enemy is always plotting. So we run into each other and he goes, you have really been on my mind. I have really been thinking about you, and it's crazy that I ran into you. He says, you know, I'm going to church now.
He said he's going to church now.
And you should come to church with me sometime.
And he's saved now.
And I'm like, oh, really? And it just so happens that he was now attending the church that I used to attend that I loved so much.
Really?
He said, can we talk sometime? I said,
that's too coincidental.
We started talking. We started going to church together, Bible study. And I was thinking to myself, wow, he does seem different. So initially when I dated him, he was very romantic, right? He was the kind of guy who was very thoughtful, would bring you flowers and roses. Oh my God, he was so thoughtful like that. Bring you gifts all the time, right? Take you out to dinner. He just was that kind of guy, right? He really, literally dated me, okay? But I felt like there was some meanness in him.
And I just like there was some meanness
couldn't really see it as an obvious meanness towards me, but I sensed
she could sense
that he wasn't a very nice person.
He wasn't a nice person.
Genuinely.
That's smart that she was able to sense that from him.
Again, I'm thinking, well, maybe I'm thrown off by his accent. Maybe I'm thrown off because he's not from here. He's different. And so maybe I'm just not used to this kind of directness and straightforwardness. Okay. So I kind of ignored that, right? Fast forward, like I said, We're dating again. We're going to church and everything like that. And then he tells me that he feels like he let me slip away the first time and he
He
didn't
tells
want
her
to
he
let me
feels
slip
like
away
he let her
again.
slip away the first time
And
and he's
I
not going to
just
let her
really
slip
wasn't
away.
sure because something in me was like, I was like squinting my eyes at him, like, oh no. But I was trying to use my logic in the sense of maybe it's for me to be with someone that's different than what I'm used to, right? And one day he said, I don't want to live without you. I want you to be my wife. This particular day that he asked me this, he came to my house with some flowers,
With
right?
some
Oh my God, they were
flowers.
oh my goodness. I remember like it was yesterday. It was in the wintertime and everything. So he came over and I opened the door and to my surprise he's here with all these flowers and we're standing in the foyer of
In the
my place
foyer,
and he's like talking to me and pouring his heart out to
pouring
me,
his heart
telling me his
out to
feelings.
him.
And he wants to know, can I give him a chance and let's make this relationship work and let's move towards marriage, right? And so reluctantly, I said, okay.
She
And
said,
y'all, when I
okay.
said okay, he threw his head back and he was like, oh my God, thank you, God. He literally did that. He literally thanked God that I just said, okay, we can try this again. All right.
They can try this again, but it's not going to work
And
out.
he hugged me and it was a moment. It was a serious moment, right? He began to court me and court me and court me and we dated and dated and dated. And then not long after that, I want to say it wasn't even a year later, he proposed
He
and asked me to
proposed.
marry him. I said yes. Oh boy. Okay. So we had this sort of quick courthouse wedding. Okay. And it felt
Rush.
weird,
It felt weird to her.
but it felt different. And I said, okay, this is good. Now, remember, I said that he was foreign. He's not from here, right? I'm not going to tell you where he's from because I don't want nobody judging different nationalities and all that stuff, right? It's not important, okay? So he's not from here, okay? He's foreign, thick accent, foreign. He was his culture. Okay, he was his culture.
I wonder where he's from.
And so, because I married him, and I wanted to be a good wife, and I wanted my relationship to be different than it ever was before, than anything I ever had. So I was very invested in being the type of wife that my husband wanted. So I learned how to cook the food from his culture.
From his
I learned
culture.
how to prepare all of the meals the way that he
all
liked.
the meals.
I learned from his mother. I went to his mother and I said, can you teach me how to cook for him, how to prepare these meals? Can you teach me how to do this? And she taught me, and I did it fantastically, by the way, too. Okay, I still love this food to this day. Still do. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I learned how to cook his food and I learned even some of the language, okay? And I started trying to, speak more of it and I started trying to be a little bit more integrated in the culture. And I was really becoming this man's wife, right? The way like that he wanted. I was fitting into this mold of his culture and embracing who he was and catering to that, okay? But at the same time, I'm still me, right? I'm still creative. I'm still, writing books. I'm still trying to do things that I love, which are the things that he loved about me initially, right? The things that drew him towards me was my independence and my ability to sort of get things done, right? So all of a sudden, something changed one day. I wrote my first book.
She wrote her first book.
And I was so excited about my first book. And I even got invited to speak at a women's conference. Now, I had already been speaking prior to him. God had already started me on this ministry path. And so he knew this about me, okay? And so one day I was so excited about my book, and I had finished my book, and it came in the mail. And I took it to him, and I
Don't
was
tell
like,
me he
"Look,
got jealous
my book is
about her
done,
book.
and this and that, and da 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 da." And he literally did not even flinch or look my way. He was on the
Wow.
computer. I remember like it was yesterday. He was on the
He
computer,
was on the computer, didn't
and
look her
at that
way.
time he was in school finishing his master's degree. So he was on the computer, and I take the book to him, and I'm like, "Look, thinking he's gonna be excited for me," and he didn't even look at it, not even once. He didn't flinch. He just was like, hmm, just like that, right? And I remember my feelings were so hurt, and I was thinking like, what the heck? Like, why is he not excited for me? This is like a huge accomplishment for me. Well, now enters the culture, right? What I didn't understand in his culture, women are second class citizens.
In this culture,
You
women
are
are
to be
second
seen, you are to
class.
look beautiful, you are to be a good, wonderful, loving, doting wife, but you are never to think too highly of yourself.
Never to think too highly of
And this
yourself.
is where the abuse began. I know, it's crazy. Even when I think about it, I'm like, that really happened to me. Yes, it really did. So, we were talking one day, and I said, I don't understand why you weren't excited about my book. You act like I didn't even tell you that my book is publishing this year. And I've been invited to speak at
Let's
this
see what's he going to say.
woman's event, and you haven't said anything. He just acted like it wasn't even a big deal. And not only that, he didn't like it, right? It was
He didn't
obvious
like
from
it.
his body language, right? He wasn't coming out and saying it, but it was all in his entire being, okay? So he says to me, I don't think you should speak at this event.
You told her.
And I said, why? And he said, because you think too highly of yourself, and you need to be knocked down a few pegs.
He actually told her that.
What?
Whoa.
Y'all,
He
this
told her
was
she
the
needed to
first
be
time
knocked
he
down
ever
a few
said anything to
pegs.
me like this, and I was
Wow.
blown away. I was like,
Wow.
So now my Detroit is raising up, okay? My Detroit side
Shaking
is
my
raising up,
head.
because although I have went into this, sort of submissive, I'm going to learn my husband's culture, I'm going to learn the language, I'm going to learn the food, I'm going to cook for him, all these things, I still was me. I was just making sure that I was accommodating the things that he needed, because he still was him, right? But I said, excuse me? What do you mean I need to be knocked down a few pegs? Like, how do I think too highly of myself because I wrote a book and because I've been invited to speak somewhere? Y'all, I'm not going to go into the whole
She's
entire
not going to go
relationship,
into
but I
the
will
whole
tell you this.
relationship.
He was very abusive, verbally and physically. And I never saw
Verbally and
myself
physically.
being in a situation like that ever in my life. And when it happened to me, I was like, it's like you get stunned, right? Because you're like, wait a minute, this is not who I am. First of all, I've only ever been with men that, love me. Not all of them were good, but I've never had anyone be physically aggressive towards me to the point where I fear for my life, okay?
Where she's
And
feared
y'all,
for her life.
I'm going to bypass all the dirty details, okay? Because it's not anything that I really want to go into. And he has since called and repented and apologized to me. But I will say this. He was at work one day.
He was at work
and I
one
had
day.
to be strategic. So I called him and I said, hey, do you want me to bring you lunch today? Now, this was not something I had done in a long time. And he was like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, okay. But the whole time, I had movers at the house packing my stuff. I was in my new house that day before he got off work. I had the movers in and out. Listen, if you don't let God choose, you are gambling with your life. You are literally gambling with your life. And I remember thinking to myself, I just wish that he wouldn't come home one day. I just wish that he would just.
She actually wished
I hate to say this now, but I would think to myself, I wish that he would just get into an accident and not even be able to make it home. That way, I don't have to deal with this anymore because it was
Too
torturous.
much on
The
her,
things that he took me
and
through,
that
the
wasn't
things
fair
that I
on her.
experienced at his hands. And then, y'all, just like in the movies, y'all know how you see these movies, and the woman is getting abused, and she goes to her mother-in-law for help and refuge to get your son, pretty much. Y'all, I did exactly that.
Yeah.
And you know what I was met with? The exact same thing. Well, you guys will have to work it out. I don't know what's wrong with him, but I'm just going to pray that you can work it out. Like it was nothing. Like the
Glad
stuff that
that
I
she
just
left
told
him.
her was not a big deal. I had already been contemplating leaving him, right? And it was in my mind. I'm like, okay, I gotta go. I gotta get gone. This man is crazy because the things that he did to me were always out of the sight of anyone else. Nobody had a clue that this kind of stuff was going on.
Nobody
Nobody had
had
a
a
clue
clue.
that he was verbally abusing me, that he was calling me stupid, that he was calling me. I mean, y'all, the stuff that he did was just so mind blowing to me. I couldn't believe another human being could claim to love somebody and treat them this way. Nobody knew what
That's
was
not
going on
right.
behind closed doors. Nobody knew he was physically abusing me. Nobody knew the police was getting called. Nobody knew stuff like this was happening, right? And how about one day, because he had a group of friends
They had a
that
group
were
of friends.
really cool guys, right? So I thought they had wives, they loved me, and it was just all good, right? I'm like the American that's blending into their
American.
culture, right? One day, his friend comes by the house to drop something off for him.
Drop
And
something
he's
off.
like, hey, is everything okay with you guys? Is everything okay? And I just broke down. I'm like, no.
She
Like,
just broke
I'm
down
leaving
in
him.
front of his
He
friends.
does this to me. He does that to me. He's been doing this to me. And he's like, what? Oh my God. I don't know what's wrong with him. I can't believe that he's doing this. And oh, why didn't you say anything? We would have talked to him and blah, 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 blah. And I'm of the mindset that what goes on in your household is private. You don't, if you're married, it's private, right? Y'all, when I told his friend that I was leaving him, his friend said, I thought you were stronger than that.
What?
Do you see the psychological
mind
play that goes on when you're in situations like that? So now I'm weak because I decide to leave an abusive relationship. Y'all, this man, the one that I was married to, is the one who I was trying to have a baby with. Thank God it
didn't not happen.
I was trying to have a baby with him, y'all. He wanted a son. And I was trying to give him that. We go to the doctors. We find out that because I, have all this scar tissue, I have to have this procedure done. And then we should be able to have a baby, right?
That was a blessing that she didn't have a son.
That after that procedure, I was so excited thinking like, okay, this is what he needs. This is what he wants and everything, right? And this is going to make him happy. Now, this is also before all of the abuse started, okay? So understand that. This wasn't after that. Do y'all know that he was so controlling and such a narcissist and such a mean man that he actually said to me, you're not even a real woman. You can't even give me a baby. You can't even give me a baby. What
you
is your
don't say
purpose?
Stuff like that.
Y'all, you talk about being devastated. Oh my God. So that's just to give you some, without giving you a lot of graphics about the abuse, that's just to give you some understanding of the type of person that I was dealing with, y'all. It was
Glad it was so bad out of it.
That there are things that he did to me that I will never tell anybody. That's how humiliating and embarrassing it was to be with somebody that cold-hearted. And this is why I told God, Lord, whoever you bring me, they need to be kind. They need to be gentle with me. So you go from wanting this ideal looking, picture perfect marriage that looks great on paper, right? Oh, I want him to have this kind of money because he made money. He was a good provider. I want him to make this kind of money. I want him to do this. I want him to do that. I want him to be this. I want him to be that, right? educated, going places, all those things, right? Intelligent, right? Multicultural, all that stuff, right? And this is what I thought was for me. But everything
It
that was
wasn't.
on
Everything that looked good
paper
ain't good.
wasn't what my heart needed. You go from wanting what you think you're going to need in a marriage to desiring the simple things like
Companionship,
friendship,
friendship,
kindness,
kindness,
patience,
patience.
right? Fruits of the spirit, you know? And so I just want to encourage you. I started out with this message going in a different direction, but then it's like God detoured me and brought me here. And so I just went with his flow, okay? If you are in a situation with someone that is harming you, it's not okay. Please know that. It's not okay. And here's the other thing that happened, y'all. I attempted, I attempted to talk to the church about the things that were happening, y'all.
That wasn't a good idea.
And the only thing I was met with was counseling or prayer. Nobody said, oh, you need to leave. You need to get out of that situation. Because somebody's going to end up unalive.
Right. They
And
could
in
at
my
least told
mind,
her
y'all,
that, but
that's
didn't
where I was
even
going.
told
It's
her
either
that
him
at
or
all.
me. Because that's how progressive
Right.
it was becoming.
So I'm glad that she saw like things was like taking a turn once like she married him, and she saw how like he was treating her. He wasn't being respectful to her, or like treating her like a queen like she is. And I'm glad she got out of that situation, and I'm glad that she got her peace after that. And like she said, she should have just like asked God who to marry first.
That's how progressive and aggressive in a dangerous way it was becoming. It's when I think back on that, I can't even believe I went through something like that. I can, because that's how the devil does. He wants to beat you down, okay? At every chance, he wants to steal your innocence when you're young, continue to torture you as you're growing, make you forget your identity and who you are, make you vulnerable. And the crazy part about it is when I got with him, I was actually in a better place. I was actually doing well, you know? But
Y'all be sure
gut,
to follow
the
me
Holy
on my
Spirit,
socials, so
I
y'all
had
join
that
my
check. I had
Patreon
that check.
for lit
I saw
anime
something in him
reactions.
that said he's
I
not as nice
appreciate
as
y'all.
he's pretending to be.
Thank y'all for
But
supporting me and watching
I
this
ignored
video
it
with me.
because I'm thinking maybe I'm just overlooking it and thinking that
Like she
because
said,
of
she
his
should have
culture,
listened to the Holy
because he's
Spirit.
just different than I'm used to. No, I don't care what the culture is. I don't care what the ethnicity is. I don't care what it is. Your gut, the Holy